My whole career has been sort of focused on what's right rather than what's wrong. I mean, that's where the empowerment work that's where I started, is with the empowerment work. And as I was doing some work with, as I became more and more interested in youth development, seeing the literature on resilience and the idea of, basically, the idea of resilience is survival in the face of risk, overcoming odds of what a risk factor might predict. So our risk models typically are predicting some outcome, usually a negative outcome. And what we typically do is then try to fix those risks, try to reduce risk in some way. What I've done when I've done this and what resilience theory suggests is that, what about the kids who experience the risk but do not end up with the bad outcome? What's right in their lives? What's going on in their lives? And we haven't spent a lot of time studying that. And so when we try to figure out what's going on in kids' lives that help them overcome risk, we start thinking about, well, what are those things that we can build up and improve in kids' lives, rather than just blaming them for something that they just need to be different, and we can make them different and help them reduce the risk. So we can help them have refusal skills. We can help them have a future orientation. Those are important, and don't get me wrong here. But we can also see, if we think, or if we find that having supportive parents is also important, an intervention could be focused on parent-child communication, parent-child relationships. If we find that mentors are important for kids, we could try to create contexts where kids are interacting with adults in positive ways. And so we start focusing on enhancing those resources and assets that exist in the world for kids, rather than just focusing on what's wrong with them. And so when we look at this relating to gun violence, we think about what are the risk factors for gun carriage, which is more frequent than gun use in kids, nefarious use, I should say. I mean, youth who go to a firing range with their parents and learn how to handle a gun, that's part of, again, the American fabric. But using them to wield power or to protect themselves, that's a risk for injury and death. And so we try to figure out what are the things that help them not do those behaviors by focusing on positive things. So that's where resilience comes. That's kind of the idea of resilience. Part of the YES program also helps increase resilience by helping kids feel that they can do it, develop the skills and practice that they can do it, and then actually doing it. So that's helping them sort of develop the social skills, the cognitive skills, and the implementation skills. So it is youth focused, but it's youth focused thinking about the context in which they live, and how can they make the places where they live better places.